Hi, I'm Lisa Brenninkmeyer with Walking with Purpose, and this is Truth with Handles, Scripture applied to your everyday life. If you're new here, don't forget, hit that subscribe button down there and be sure to like this video. Navigating the dating scene with your kids when they are immersed in hookup culture is not for the faint-hearted. No doubt you had your share of broken hearts when you were growing up, but what our kids have to deal with is most definitely next level. What starts out looking cute and fun, we all agree it's fun to pick out homecoming dresses, and it always feels so good to know that your child has been chosen and is liked by someone, can quickly move into territory where you are worried about them for a number of reasons. So when our oldest was in high school, Leo wrote the Breneckmeier Guide to Dating and Relationships. And this internal document helped guide us and gave us principles to follow when we were trying to figure out what we were going to allow and what we were going to let our kids do and what our kids were ready for when they came to that age. So Proverbs 4 verse 23 says, "Keep your heart with all diligence, for from it flows the streams of life." So this verse is talking about guarding your heart, because everything you do flows from there. And this is something that teenagers find very hard to do, which means it's important that parents step in and give some guidance. And so that's what Leo and I were attempting to do. So we've never had a set age when we say that all our kids are just allowed to date. And that's because our kids have matured on different timelines. And they've also varied in the choices that they've made. And those choices either build or erode trust. And trust is key in terms of what we're going to allow. Now, maybe you've heard your kids wail, "You don't trust me." I've heard it too. And you know what my response is? No, I don't. I don't trust the environment you're in. I don't think that you are superhuman in terms of your ability to resist what all your friends might be doing. I don't think that you are a perfect person who I can trust to always make the right decisions. And I know that some choices you make could actually have lifelong consequences. So the starting point is that I don't trust all of those things. And so we're going to have some rules that help keep you on a good path. So not a super popular thing to say, but that is the starting point. So how do we figure out when someone is ready to date? Well, Leo and I look at key relationships in their lives that are tiered in terms of importance, and that's what is in that internal document. So to begin with, we look at our child's relationship with God. And that is the most important one because of that all-important word, trust. So I'm going to grow in my trust of my child when I can see that he or she recognizes that God is the one in charge and that he gets a say in how we live. A child who refuses to go to Mass and isn't open to spiritual things at all is really a sitting duck for all sorts of mess in the dating scene. And I want my child to be getting his or her sense of worth from God, not searching for that validation from a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So I'm not saying that we wait until our kids are practically ready for the mission field from a spiritual perspective, but we want to see openness spiritually and growth happening in their lives before we feel like that relationship with God is really a good check. But if they have a relationship with God, and then we're going to look at the next level of relationships, which is the family relationships. So they need to have a good relationship with Leo and I and with their siblings. So sitting in their rooms on their phones constantly does not qualify as a good relationship with the rest of us. Arguing with siblings doesn't either, if it's a constant thing. If I can't see that they know how to relate to the people under our roof, then we're not going to open the doors to other people. These are the relationships that matter most. This is the school of love, the family, where they're learning how to treat people and how to be treated. If they have a growing relationship with God and good relationships within our family, though, we're going to look at the next level of relationships, friendships with members of the same sex. So we're going to ask, do they have a good group of friends that offer encouragement and support? Or do they have trouble getting along with friends? Which means that this dating relationship is going to become everything. As in, this is the one person I can really talk to. This is the one person who truly understands me. Now, I am all for my kids having someone they can really talk to who understands them. But what makes me uncomfortable when this is not balanced by good friends is that all the eggs are put into this one basket. I really believe that kids in high school have the maturity to fall in love, but I don't think many of them have the maturity to navigate the devastation of a breakup. A breakup in high school can have some of the psychological effects of a divorce because your entire world has become entwined with the boyfriend or the girlfriend. And all of a sudden you have to figure out who gets the friends, Who gets to go to that particular activity? There's stuff that you need to return, literally physical stuff. And I'm certainly not saying it's the same as a divorce. Of course it's not. But I am saying there are similar elements, and it's being navigated by a teen whose prefrontal cortex hasn't fully developed and who doesn't have the ability that an adult does to recognize that this is not going to last forever. So the solid friend group, again, of the same sex really helps that dating relationship to not become everything. So if our child has a growing relationship with God, a good relationship with family, and a solid group of friends, then we're going to consider letting him or her date. But even then, it's not a free-for-all. To begin with, they need to be either with our family or the date's family. And this allows us all to get to know each other and see if there are any red flags. And when we feel good about how they are treating each other, then we're going to let them hang out together in a group setting with parents at home. Now, this does not guarantee good choices, but there's definitely protection in numbers. So we've got Life 360 on our kids' phones, and we track where they are. Even on prom night, we tracked exactly how long it would take to drive from prom back to the date's house and then home, because a lot can happen in 10 minutes. So our kids have known that we are paying attention to where they are each step of the way. Does this annoy them? Yes, it does. Is it worth it? Yes, it is. As parents, we have far more authority than we give ourselves credit for. The number of times we throw up our hands and we say, well, what can I do? When we actually could have done something, are too numerous to count. The issue isn't that we can't do anything. The issue is often that we don't want to do what is required because it's going to make our kids mad. And we aren't willing to deal with the weeks of anger and simmering resentment, and so we give in. And our kids wind up the losers. I can remember one night in particular that I heard it on pretty good authority that one of my children had plans to take things to a next level with their high school significant other. And that child had just left the house borrowing the minivan, which seemed a very odd choice because prior to this, the minivan had been a source of great embarrassment to this child because it's such a mom car. So when I heard what I heard, I called this child and I said that he needed to come home immediately. And he explained that he couldn't because his girlfriend had no way to get home. And I told him to have her Uber. I was happy to pay for it and then get himself straight home. And he came home and we sat down to talk. And I told him that I had been praying since he was in utero, that when he did something wrong, he would get caught. I told him that God has come through on that prayer request time and time again. And as a result, he should expect that he is not going to get away with things that other kids do because God is working on my side in this regard. I told him that I have a sixth sense as a mother and that I sensed he was about to take something that didn't belong to him. And we sat in silence as I looked at him pointedly. That something, I said, belongs to her husband. And I told him that I was tired of clocking and checking on his whereabouts, that his dad and I were exhausted, and that it was time for this relationship to be over. And I said, I'm giving you until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning to break up with a girlfriend and to change your status on social media. And he looked at me as if I was crazy and said, are you actually serious? And I said, serious as a judge. He was mad, angry, for weeks in fact, but he did it. And but he did later, thank me. How could I make him do that, you ask? Well, as far as I can tell, his dad and I are paying for his phone, his gas, his food, and the roof over his head, which means we have far more control than we think. And it is our job to get out ahead of the disaster. It is not our job to make our kids happy in the short term. It's to keep our focus on the long term. And this plan has helped us to do that. So if this has been helpful to you, please hit that like button and share it with a friend because we are in this together and this hookup culture is pretty messed up, but we are still in charge of our homes and we can do far more than we might initially think.